What's up, people? We're back for number 2. Okay, so just to reiterate the end part. So when I say to people, if I have to teach you how to be human, it's not worth knowing. That's not gonna apply to everyone. Obviously, as we're, for children, it's not gonna apply to children. But I would say at least probably beyond the age of 18. If someone has to teach you, don't spit at people. Those kind of things that we know. You don't spit at people. Things like you don't stand someone up. Like there's certain I'm not going to go into it, but standing people, arranging to meet someone and standing them up, things like that. If I have to teach you how to be human, you're not worth knowing. So, but it doesn't. But I want to clarify that obviously that wouldn't apply to the younger generation that are growing up. That would be most adults of a certain age. If I have to teach them, okay. What was the last thing that I said? As I ended the video of the last one. Right, so I said teach how to be human. Right, another thing I want to say is this about once you start to gather these things, you'll start to walk into a room and many people can say things about you. There were times in my life, because of depression, that I was walking around literally dressed. I remember walking down the road dressed with club. So it was kind of like, what do they call it? Smart wear. Like as you walk into a club, like almost like smart trousers. Then I had trainers on, which you don't put smart trousers with trainers. So I had black smart trousers, like suit, yeah. I had trainers on and I had a t-shirt. I remember a black woman walking down the road looking at me and goes, "Oh my God, look at this guy. Look at him." I looked a mess. There were times in my life I looked a mess. And I hold my hands up and say, I looked almost like a tramp, okay? But if we're talking about people that know me, people that knew me, okay? I've always kind of demanded respect in one way or another. And the reason why I've demanded respect in one way or another is because I've never been dead weight. I've never been someone that's been a drain. The most I've ever done to people, really, from what I can remember, is mainly probably knocked on their door and probably bored the living daylights out of them by talking faff, basically. The worst I've probably done really is probably knocked on someone's door, because there were times I had issues in my life and I probably knocked on someone's door and just bombarded them with issues, and then came back the next day and bombarded them with issues, and then the next day, and it's just a point I was just negativity. But in regards to carrying my own weight, I've always carried it, and that's what this is about. Because that's the main important thing, especially for people that aren't aware sometimes when they walk into environments and a lot is being done for them and they're not kind of, that self-awareness isn't there. So what happens is people start to kind of say little things, and people can even start to predict. I guarantee you this guy is going to ask me for a cigarette now when he walks in here, but that's Billy, he's at the door, yeah. I guarantee he's going to come up here, he's going to ask me for a cigarette. I guess what though, he will never offer you a cigarette. He won't. Those kind of things, because you've got into a habit of it where you're expecting these things, and because of the lack of the self-awareness and self-regulating and all those kind of things, self-reflecting, it's not even something you're thinking about. I've always said to people that I remember one time my brother said to me that he said, I'm the type of person, if I step on the train and there's an elderly person, I will give up my seat instantly for the elderly person. And what I said to him was, you know what, Mark, I've been in a situation where I was so stressed out from work, had so much issues on my mind, that I was sitting down on the tube station and I was so like in another world. I was sitting down in another world, looking like that, just another world, waiting to go home on the tube. And an elderly person did come by, fragile person, walked by me like that and stood in front of me, and I just didn't see it. My brain was just so focused on other things that I just didn't see it. If I would have seen it, if my brain was focused on it, then I would have got up and said take it. But I had so many other things on my mind, and sometimes that's the trap that we can fall into in regards to taking people for granted. It's the same kind of thing, especially if they've set us up with those kind of habits where people have always given it to us on the plate. So, but let's get into a few stories anyway, because by the end of this second video, people will kind of be a little bit more aware of what I'm saying, because this is the most important thing in life to have. It's really important. It separates you from since you've come with me this far, I'll tell you straight, this is what is a bum 2 video. It's as simple as that. Since you've come this far, it's what is a bum 2 video. Okay. It's not, I didn't want to get strictly into it. The first one was kind of aimed, it was kind of aimed at both. It was aimed at men, but it was a large portion of it was aimed at women, because there were certain women that I'd seen in my life that were walking around saying, oh, this guy's a bum, this guy's a bum. But when you turned around and you asked those women, well, I don't understand, he's in the same situation that you're in. So, you know, he's got the same kind of car that you've got, he's in the same job that you're in, so how is he a bum? How am I? So that's what it was about. It was about when certain women were putting guys down, and I didn't understand, and the guys that they were putting down were in the same boat as them. That's what it boiled down to, you know. And the reason why women said those things about these guys is because these women had certain body parts that us as men wanted, and they felt that they were kind of propelled, and that gave them an edge over men. And because men had to go to them for it, men had to then be 3 times more better off in life, better off in regards to status, in regards to financial stability than they did. And I had a problem with that. I had a big time problem with that, and that's where the what is a bum came from. But it also talked about certain men in jobs as well, that men that are in jobs where there may be stealing from other people and this or that, but they'll be more appealing than a guy that's doing it the honest way, kind of thing. You know, women are more kind of, but that's what it boiled down to. But this video here isn't about that. It's not about a male or female thing. I'm just generally trying to say to certain people out there that I think it would benefit you if you're aware of these certain things, because it can be held against you. And like I said already, there's times in my life where I have really been down, especially in my 20s when I was addicted to marijuana. I really looked bad. But no one's ever been able to really dig into me and really put me down. Apart to say, really, Luke, sometimes you dressed like a tramp in your 20s, and you know, occasionally, but nothing more than that. You know, no one could ever say more than that. Right, let's get into a few stories anyway. They're going to be in random order. And then I have a new term in this one. There's a new term I came up with, which is super bum, but I'll explain that to you later on. But this isn't really a negative video. It's just, believe it, it isn't. It isn't. It's a positive video, because I want, especially if you're young, I want you to be aware of these things so that people can't hold, you know, people don't have anything against you or whatever. Right, so I'm going to tell you a story. Why have I put BT? Right, BT. What was the story at BT? Alright, right, so that's it. So there was, I remember going for an interview at BT, and basically, it was a group interview, and what we had to do was we had to all, right, so what we had to do, we were partnered up, and we had to sit down, and we had to say to our partners, we had to find out information about our partners, and then we had to say out to the group. So this guy goes, me first, this black guy, right? So I'm asking him about, you know, his employment, recent employment, what school he went to, his abilities, you know, where, and he really is like taking a lot of time on these things. Say this, I used to do this, I used to do that. Okay, alright, I'm writing it down. You went to this school, you got this GCSE, what do you like doing, what's your habits like? Because, you know, it was like an interview, really. You know, it wanted to, I think the person, the employer, or the group coordinator, whatever you want to call it, wanted to really see our kind of interviewing skills, you know. So I was asking him a lot of things like, you know, what he likes doing in his personal time and hobbies and things like that. And he really went for gold. He told me a lot of stuff about himself. And then it came to my turn, and he wasn't really interested, to be honest with you. The way he looked at it is that because I'd written down all of the stuff that he was doing, that he would be kind of maybe levels above me or something like that, because I've taken down so much information about him. So when it came down to my questioning, he didn't really have too much to say. He was like, so what do you do? So I was like, okay, I go here. What school did you go to? And he was like, all right, what job did you do? And he seemed very disinterested. And then he was like, all right, that's enough. So I said, okay, that's cool. That's fine. I'm not gonna I'm not going to argue with you. You know, that's cool. Again, this goes back to again, I have to repeat it again. It goes back to what is the nice guy versus being nice versus selling out. This guy was a sellout, basically. He was what I would class as a bum. You know, he was one of those guys that would just, you know, just dodgy. You know, throw you under the bus in order to be a successful guy, and he came across that way anyway. Cut a long story short, so the teacher then says, okay, all right, I want you to each get up now and say what you've learned about each other and blah blah blah. People went around the room, they started introducing their partners and things like that. My turn came up, and I was like this. Alright, so here we have Ben. Ben works at, Ben went to St. Joseph's School in 1993. I'm sorry, he went to St. Joseph's School from 89 to 1993. He passed the 5 GCSEs there. From that point on there, he said he wanted to get involved in some sort of engineering thing, but that didn't totally work out. But he is doing some sort of hobby towards it. He likes playing, he also likes doing these things with his father. For now, he's just looking for a little bit of work to do while he can kind of, you know, fulfill his engineering job. What else does he like doing? He's 22 years old. So basically, I came across, I presented a hell of a lot of information in a professional way, or this or that, and the coordinator or the employer, whatever you want to call it, could see that I actually went out my way to actually figure out, to ask questions about this guy, to do what we were told to do, perform the task that we were supposed to do. And it had nothing to do with a vanity thing or thinking I was a better than him thing. It was just about me trying to do the job and me trying to do the job properly. There was no up here, you know, he's up here and I'm down here kind of thing. We were asked to do it and I was doing it properly. His go now. He gets up and he was like, what's your first name again? He's saying this to the group as well. Oh, his name is, what's your name? Luke? He makes himself like an idiot. How old did you say you was again, Luke? I'm not. All of the information that he should have got, because he was so focused on himself, making himself look special, he ended up failing to do what he was supposed to do, you know. And that's when I said to people, I think I said it in a previous video, that one of my first jobs I was offered a manager's position. When the employer saw how I was, how professional I was, I didn't get that job. But what they did is rang me back and they said, right, we can offer you a manager's position in a different sector. For BT. So what he ended up doing was stabbing himself in the back by being crafty, you know. And this kind of ties in to the whole it kind of ties into what I was saying before, because it's kind of selfishness. It's not him, it's kind of, how can I explain it to you? This is another scenario I want to bring up, okay? Imagine that there's imagine that you go round to a friend's house. You were doing skateboarding, whatever. We'll go over skateboarding scenario. You're a skateboarder, right? But then you meet one other skateboarder down some park, and he says to me, "Yeah, man, what do you fancy doing?" He goes, "What are you doing later on?" We're like, he's like, "You know, you're really good at skating. What are you doing later on?" And you say, "Well, I'm not really doing anything." He says, "Well, look, come back, man. Come. There's this place that we go to, this house that we go to chill. You know, they're really nice there." And you say, "Okay, well, why not?" Let's picture now that you go back to this house with this skateboarder. Let's imagine that when you go into the door, it's a house full of people, yeah? There's what appears to be kind of other kind of skateboard like looking guys, yeah? Not to say that it could be anyone. It could be Jamaicans in the house, it could be, but we're going to go over the whole skateboarding thing, right? Imagine that the minute you go into the house now, someone says to you, "Would you like a drink?" And you say, and they say, no, seriously, what would you like to drink? And you say, "I don't know, well, what have you got?" And they say, "What do you want, beer, this, that?" And you say, "Okay, I'll have a beer." And then they will go into the kitchen with a smile on their face, and they say, "There you go, there's a beer for you." And then they say, "Would you like something to eat?" And they're smiling as they're saying this, "Would you like something to eat?" And you say, "Yeah, sure. I'll have something to eat. And then they go and get a big bowl of food and they offer it to you. And they sit you down, they clear the table and they clean whatever, so it's clean for you, and they sit you down, you know. Right, I'm going to get into part number 3 just to sum this whole thing up so you can understand where I'm coming from with it, and hopefully it's something that you can apply to your life, okay, because it's really important. Alright, I'll see you around for number 3. Peace.